Flying. I've never really had a problem with flying. In fact, I've always enjoyed it. Me and Sable used to race on a regular basis after training. Local police didn't particularly like that, though. Neither did our parents. That felt like a lifetime ago, back when flying was fun. But flying around Rialza looking for one man was starting to get annoying. It had been over a month since my team was killed, and I hadn't thought about much else since then. It also didn't help that my shoulder hurt like hell. There was only so much I could do with the medical supplies I had on hand. Eventually, I just had to learn to live with it, one painkiller stim at a time. I remember laying in my bunk aboard my ship when I got a notification on my holo tablet. It was a text with an address to a club where I'd find who I was looking for. Finally. I was getting sick of flying all over the planet.
MRI system. Run diagnostic. Target left shoulder.
Beginning diagnostic. Targeting left shoulder.
Before I left to make my way to the club, I decided to run a check on my shoulder. I hadn't had to do much strenuous activity since I got shot, and I wanted to see how bad it was. Something in the back of my mind told me the rest of the day wasn't exactly going to go well. Not like it would matter much, though. The problem with going on an assignment like mine is having minimal contact in overly public places, and unfortunately, that included going to actual doctors.
Diagnostic. Complete.
How bad is it?
Heavy damage to rotator cuff and surrounding area. Likely permanent if not treated appropriately within the next 3 standard weeks.
Great. What sort of range of movement am I looking at?
Minimal. Advise against extending arm for protracted periods of time.
Just wonderful.
Since there wasn't anything I could really do about my shoulder, I focused back on the task at hand. I knew where I had to go, so I grabbed my gun and tomahawk, tossed on my jacket, and lowered the rear cargo ramp of my ship. As I walked towards the club, I stayed alert while taking in the sights, though if I'm honest, there wasn't much to see. Sila District was one of the poorest parts of Rialza, and it wasn't hard to see why. Flickering lights in back alleys, literal dumpster fires lit by people trying to keep warm, tarps covering shattered windows and used as replacements for actual ceilings. Things like that weren't hard to find. Just walk 10 yards and you'll see at least one. Even what little dumb AI the district had for newcomers to find their way around was glitchy at best and inoperable at worst. Looking around at everyone made me feel like I stuck out. Not many people there had brand new jackets and looked like they had stacks to burn. Suddenly, I was glad to have paid the portmaster for extra security for my ship. I didn't trust it wouldn't be stolen. Stopping in my tracks, I looked up at the sign that hung just above the doorway to a particularly run-down building. Harvey's Club and Bar.
Imca, you better be in here, or so help me.
As I walked into the building, I immediately realized that it was less of a club and more of just a regular seedy bar. Half of the people there turned around and looked at me as I walked up to the bartender. He was on the shorter side, with pale white skin and graying hair, but his eyes were a deep dark brown, sharp, and focused almost like he could see right through me. I could tell almost immediately that he was a vet. I was hoping he wouldn't mark me for one too, but the eyes are always a dead giveaway, and mine had seen a lot.
How you doing, miss? What can I get started for you?
Japanese Sazerac neat. And some information. I'm looking for someone, and I got a tip that he was here.
Alright, well before that, do you have your ID with you, miss?
I handed over my ID and could see the bartender doing the math in his head. After a few seconds, he started shaking his head.
Sorry, kid, I can't serve you since you're only 20.
What? Isn't it 18 on Rialza?
It is, but I'm old world raised. 21 and up in my bar.
Really? You can't make an exception?
Nope, sorry. We all have our rules and that's
Just give her that damn drink, Harvey. She may not look like it, but she might just feed you the damn butter. Last person to refuse that woman a drink got I stunt some backwater planner.
That was a voice I'd recognize anywhere. Imca Jabulani,
How you been?
exactly who I'd been scoring the planet to
you know
find.
me, I can't complain. Come, sit.
So harboring you in a bar is fine, but underage drinking is where we draw the line now. You're in some interesting company these days.
Yeah, well, most of my crew is off where running a job for me. Can't exactly pick on shoes now, can I?
I guess not. So, how's the business been going?
It's been great. I don't know if we had to bribe some ISEP government officials to pass a checkpoint last week. After that, we barely made 5,000 stocks. And on top of that, we had to make sure me and a crew didn't get clipped by some local gang. I'm a wedding cheap these days, see?
Imca was an arms dealer and broker. If someone wanted something bad enough, he'd get it to them for the right price. Didn't matter if it was rifles, bombs, or even ships. But to my team, he was someone that we could go to when all of our legitimate contacts couldn't help us. See, Imca had dirt on virtually everyone. Politicians, police, even PMCs. Nothing on us, of course. But it didn't hurt that we'd become friends over the years. He was one of the few people all of us at least semi-trusted.
And you know that reminds me. You didn't bring Saber with you this time, did you? A few of the boys are still tilted. She killed 2 of our crew last time. Took us forever to clean the damn blood stains out of the old bar.
That's why I'm here. They're all gone. We got caught in an ambush back in November, and they didn't make it. I've been flying all over Rialza looking for you since then.
Harvey walked over with 2 drinks in hand for the both of us. He must have overheard our conversation because he shot me a sympathetic look as he set the glass down in front of me.
Si puton de me. Gara, Lisa, I'm sorry. Truly. In my line of work, people, they come and go easy, yeah? But you people, I knew them for a while now. Consider them closer than associates. Seeing, I'm gonna miss them. Truly.
Thank you. They loved getting ops with you involved, though half the time you almost got us killed.
Hey, it's not my fault you guys always needed me for intel. So, what did you need me for?
I need to know if you still have any political contacts in ISEP. I can't use any of our usuals, and the only reason we were on that op in the first place is because we used an anonymous contact. I'm convinced they're in ISEP, and I need an in.
I may know a guy, yeah, but I also may not. Depends on how bad you wanna. Cause you know how this goes, sister. Favor for a favor.
And let me guess, no exceptions.
You know that's never the case with me, sister.
In hindsight, I should have seen that coming. That's just how Imca worked. Anytime anyone wanted something, they always had to do something for him first. Granted, I didn't blame him for it. It was a good way to do business since he always delivered on his end of the bargain.
Fine. What is it?
No, it won't take too long. Should be pretty easy for the likes of you. Just need you for PSD for a deal tonight. Selling some hardware to some local boy.
What's the hardware this time?
He smiled once I asked, and he walked over to the bar and slid over 2 large strong boxes big enough for at least 6 full loadouts.
Got a lot for this order. MWR rifle works, A5 ARs, Curry Ordnance N617s, and a few other goodies. Here. Gotcha.
Nice. The A5's ballistic or directed energy?
Little of both. But that isn't the best part. Managed to pick up 3 of these. Sky Ronin Armory Cell 5 helmets.
I immediately stopped admiring the rifle and turned my attention to the helmet. Sky Ronin Armory kit wasn't cheap and was extremely hard to get a hold of. At 5 million stacks apiece, the only units running around with SRA stuff, or any fully enclosed helmet system for that matter, were usually Tier 1. We actually had a good relationship with the CEO, and the company was developing a next-generation helmet for us. The ones we used were just early-stage prototypes, but they outclassed anything else on the market.
Where did you even manage to get these? I know for a fact you can't afford them, much less anyone else on your crew. With the exception of Baby Dragoff.
You know, if I wasn't such a hardened arms dealer, I'd be hurt by that. But putting aside me damaged feelings for a second, let's just say they got misplaced on a freighter and some new kid may or may not have missed up a shipping manifest.
Sure. And these locals you're selling to? Where'd they get the money for these? Not exactly like everyone in Sila District is flush with stacks.
I didn't ask. It's not my business to know. Just that they had the money is all I need. So, are you in? You know I'm good for the intel.
Yeah, I'm in. When's the deal?
In about an hour, the meeting location is just outside of the Apollo planes.
Alright then, let's get ready to move out. I'd rather not spend all night on this.
Right, yeah. I start loading up my shuttle with the hardware. You know what a party is nearby?
Yeah, I know it.
Meet me there in 20 minutes.
As I got up to leave, I finished off my Japanese Sazerac, a perfect blend of sweetness and tart flavors along with a Mizuhara finish. Technically, you're not supposed to mix a Sazerac with Japanese whiskey, but ever since Ark taught me how to make one back when I first became a ghost, it's been my favorite. I thanked Harvey for the drink, apologized for giving him a hard time earlier, and left him a very generous tip. As I turned to leave, he gave me a slight smile and told me he hoped that I could get back at the people that killed my team.
Stay safe. Here.
I smiled back and promised that I would. Leaving the bar, I started making my way back towards the port. On approach, I could see Imca's shuttle in the distance as he loaded up. His ship was slightly smaller than mine, and definitely more worn. I could see scorch marks, bullet holes, and just a lot of general wear and tear all over her. He'd probably say that it added character, but luckily it didn't look like it was about to fall apart. Not yet, anyway.
You're early. I said 25 minutes, not 5.
I wanted to see if you needed any help loading up.
I have you know. I'm 25, not 52. But we will leaving in 5. You can go and relax in the main cabin if you like.
Alright then, wake me when we get there.
Sweet dreams.
The inside of the ship looked a lot better than the outside. Everything was clean and orderly. Monitors, security pads, and other installations all looked brand new. The main cabin functioned as a sort of lounge for the crew. It had only been my second time being inside. Since then, they'd had added a decent-sized sectional couch and bolted it to the floor. Since we didn't have to go off-world, I walked straight past the crash seats and got comfortable on the couch. Imca walked past me towards the cockpit and started the takeoff sequence. I could feel the vibrations of the ship's thrusters slowly putting me to sleep. I tried to fight it, but eventually I gave in. I barely slept properly since the ambush, and that was as good a time as any. I woke up to the feeling of the shuttle touching down and the sound of Imca walking past me. I stood up and slid my tomahawk back into its sheath on my belt and made sure my pistol was loaded before putting it back in my concealed appendix holster.
We here.
Walking back towards the cargo bay, I helped Imca offload the crates he'd brought for the deal. It was a cool moonlit night, and there was no one around for miles. I leaned on one of the crates while fidgeting with the necklace that hung around my neck. It was a rook that flared out like a snowflake around the edges. The same rook that was tattooed on the inside of my right wrist that designated me an assaulter. Looking around, I was reminded of the old days, That wasn't the first time I'd helped Imca with a job like that. But before November, the whole team would have been there. Sable would be poking fun at Kepler. Saint would be on Overwatch. Void would probably be asleep. And Onyx would be right next to me, vigilant as he'd always been. Before I could think about those days more, I saw 2 sets of headlights coming towards us. 2 large SUVs stopped in front of us, transporting the 8 guys that were there for Imca's hardware.
Imca, you're on time for once.
Yeah, well, that's because for once I wasn't getting shot at on my way over here by one of your many enemies, Logan.
Ah, come on. I thought we apologized for that. That was like last year.
Yeah, more like 6 months ago, brother.
Semantics. Anyway, why don't you introduce me to your new friend? She a new addition to the crew?
Hardly. I like my life expectancy just the way it is.
Hey, no, it's not like I lost that many people.
Yeah, sure.
The smart ass here is just doing me a favor. You know how it is.
Ah, one of those. You ever just consider helping someone out of the goodness of your heart?
Nah, brother. And I ain't probably not gonna be starting that up at any time soon.
Of course not. But pleasantries aside, you have what we ordered?
I do. 6 A5s, 3 617s, and 3 Cell 5 helmets. You're more than welcome to take a look.
I watched as Logan took a look through all the kit. He mostly lingered on the Sky Ronin helmets and the A5 ARs. My eyes wandered towards his crew. I started sizing them up like I did every time I was in a situation like that. Over the years, it became second nature to assess possible threats and how best to take them down. That's part of what kept me alive. I could tell most of the crew were amateurs. Half of them were staring at the gear while the other half just talked quietly to each other. Logan, on the other hand, I couldn't pin down. He didn't exactly scream professionalism, but there was something else there I couldn't put my finger on.
All right, great. Everything looks in order.
Ah, that's grand, Logan. I'm glad to hear it. So, do you have me payment?
We do. It's all in the trunk here.
He walked to the back of the car and pulled out 2 very large suitcases. This was exactly when everything started to go downhill.
So here we have half stacks and half vamp.
Vamp was a hallucinogenic drug. It got whoever used it as high as a space station, of course, but it also made the user hypersensitive to sunlight, hence the name.
If you sell this right, you'll get way more than what we originally agreed upon. This stuff is getting rare these days.
Ha, see now that there. There's only one small issue with that.
Oh, fuck.
That
Here we go.
is not what we agreed upon. I don't recall any conversation I had with Uno about any vamp.
I know. But this is the legit original compound. Come on. You can't get much better than that.
If there's one thing I learned from working with Imca and others like him, it's that if you agree on a deal, that you stuck with it, no matter how beneficial the alternative might be. I guess Logan never got that memo.
Now, Jacob, I'm only gonna tell you this once. And I'm only telling you out of the kindness of my own heart, cause we done business in the past. So listen, and listen close, see? You got 2 options right now. One being that you go to the back of that truck of yours and you're gonna magically produce the other 5 million stacks you owe me, and you're gonna get this vamp real or otherwise out of me sight. Or 2,
Whoa, hey!
me and my friend here
Drop
put
the
2
damn
rounds
guns.
into each of your skulls and no one walks away happy.
I drew my pistol almost at the same time as Imca, and out of reflex, used my left arm for support like I always had. It hurt like hell, and I immediately dropped it and only held my gun with my right hand.
Come on, Imca. Just take the deal. I don't see what the problem is.
Alright. I mean, if that's how you want to play with it, then I'm fine with that.
Imca, calm the fuck down.
Nah, see now, sister, you done crossed the line with me. See now, love, the problem with that whole situation, right, is that this be my wheelhouse. You wanna talk about hidden compounds, assassinations, or things of that nature? See, that's your wheelhouse. But this business, this is mine, and mine only. So I won't be coming down anytime soon.
Wait. Did he just say assassinations? Who the hell is this girl again?
You shut up. Imca, you asked me to do PSD for you, right? Guess what, dumbass? I can't exactly do that if you're dead. Will you just let me handle this?
Boss, I'ma fucking drop these two if they step any
Like
closer.
hell you are. Drop the gun.
Alright. Since you're the all-knowing arms dealer and everything now, let's hear it.
Honestly, I didn't mind Imca as a person. He was one of my closest friends outside of the team. But when deals went sideways, he became difficult to work with. I thought of a solution as fast as I could in my head. It was a massive gamble, but it was a bet I had to make if I wanted us to walk out of there alive.
Look up.
What?
Just do it. See anything? No? Well, it's fine. LX-7s usually can't be seen at that altitude anyway.
What, like the drone?
Yeah, that's the one.
Girl, what the hell are
Have you ever
doing?
seen what they can do? I have. It's incredible, really. I saw one drop 4 Havoc missiles in 10 seconds once. That one, it's loaded with 8.
What the hell are you saying?
I'm saying that we could all be puzzle pieces within the next 20 seconds. Or, I could make you a counteroffer.
And what exactly might that be?
They choose half of whatever product they want, hand over the stacks, and keep the van for themselves. And whenever they have the money for the rest, they can come back for it later. Hopefully when I'm not around.
I could see everyone thinking it over while Imca and I still had our guns trained on them. My heart was racing, and my finger was on the trigger ready for anything that might happen. After a few seconds, Logan and his crew started to lower their guns. Imca and Logan stared at each other for a few seconds and both nodded their heads in silent agreement.
Alright, that sounds fair to me.
Yeah, we're cool with that. Shouldn't be any longer than a month to get the other half.
Right. So then which half did you want to take for now?
We've still got plenty of guns back home, but nothing as fancy as these. But for now, we'll take the self-ob helmets.
See? Now everyone's happy and no one has to get shot.
Yeah, that's all great and everything, aside from the fact that now you got some ammo to hold over me head for all of eternity. So go help them load up the helmets and I'll pack up the rest.
See, I wasn't thinking about it until you mentioned it. But yeah, now I am.
I started to load the helmets back into their crate while Imca loaded up and prepped the ship for takeoff. As I carried it over to their cars and put it in the trunk, Logan handed me the suitcase with the stacks inside. We shook hands and parted ways. Walking back to the ship, Imca seemed to be back to his normal self.
So, out of curiosity, where'd you get the drone?
There is no drone, so we might want to get out of here before they figure that out.
I seen plenty risky moves in my time, gal, but that one was ballsy. So, the hell did you have planned if it didn't work?
Well, then I guess there'd be 8 missing persons cases popping up on someone's desk somewhere, and you wouldn't have your money.
I suppose you're right, Noel. But anyway, thank you. Really. Now I owe you an extra favor for saving me sail and everything like that.
It's not a problem. I just did what you asked me to, but I'll definitely hold you to that favor, so you'd better not forget.
Ah, you know me too well, sister. And you know I'm not one to be forgetting anything. So on the subject of favors and all, I remember you saying you needed a contact in ISEP.
Yeah, you said you knew someone?
As a matter of fact, I do. An Earth politician. Attached to ISEP and its government. Kind that listens more than he speaks. Quiet type. Constantly hearing things that other people wouldn't. Name's Alan Jensen. Lives in Cilalara, Virtue City, in Amira's apartments off of Aldrin Road. If anyone will have heard the operation that killed your team, it's that guy. Just do me a favor. Try not to get him killed, yeah? Contacts like that, they're hard to come by these days, and I pay him a lot of money to stay above the ground.
I won't. I just need to figure some things out. Any idea what apartment number?
Yeah, apartment 114, building 7. I'll let him know you're on the way.
Thank you, Imca. This means a lot.
Not a problem. Now go get some sleep. You look like hell and you got a long flight ahead of you.
Just wake me whenever we get back.
Will do.
Well, it was back to flying, and I felt myself falling asleep all over again. That time I didn't even try to fight it. I remember my mind racing with everything I wanted to ask Imca's contact. Who was Raven? What was the end goal? And most importantly to me, why would they kill my team? I just hoped he'd be able to answer at least some of my questions. And Cidalara. Cidalara is what most of us considered our home out there in Kaleidoscope. We even had apartments on the exact same street. I was going to have to keep my head down if I didn't want to get recognized. Nothing was easy about this assignment, but I kept my head up. Someone had to do it. Just as I started to think about my team, the ship's takeoff sequence put me to sleep entirely, and those thoughts that started to pour in slowly started to fade as I drifted off.